I call this meeting of the Northeast Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 5:31. Item 2, new business for possible board action. A, business services operations. 1, possible action regarding 2015 bond, Northeast Institute of Cybersecurity and Innovation, ICSI, facility renovations, project phase 3A, bid award approval, and associated fund balance commitment. Mr. Clary.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Micah, executive staff, and Peggy. Mr. Sullivan will be making his way to the podium for this presentation. And then once Mr. Sullivan has completed his part, then Mr. Villarreal will then jump in about the financial piece of it.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Micah, members of the executive staff, and guests. It's my pleasure tonight to talk to you about a new initiative we have for the Institute for Cybersecurity and Innovation. We would like to proceed with some additional scope of work at the ICSI facility, which would build out and finish and completely furnish the network computer labs, as well as computer labs numbers 9 and 10. This would give the district the capability to support the first 2 instructional years of the students that are pursuing the cybersecurity program, which would take us through essentially July of 2023. Right now, all that we would have available at the cyber facility is the 2 security operations centers, which is classrooms 1 and 2 on the floor plan. Where the network labs is just going to be a large collaborative space, and labs 9 and 10 are not going to be furnished as part of the current project. But with the approval tonight of this agenda item, we would completely furnish and finish out the 2 network labs as well as 9 and 10, giving us 6 classroom areas ready for student use at the start of the school year in August of 2021, and again, carry us through the first 2 years of the cyber program. I'm going to be followed by Mr. Villarreal, who's going to talk about the funding requirements for this project, and then we would both be available to answer any questions you may have on this proposed project. Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Mike, executive staff, and Peggy, and Mr. Peterson. No, tonight we bring to you a resolution to see we can release from commitment from our hail damage special revenue fund for those amounts of $575,000. We committed those funds back in June of 2020, and every year we brought to you those commitments, because we have to do that every year through CASB 54. So tonight we bring to you the resolution to release from commitment.
Is that the end of your presentation? That's it. Okay, so do I have, I'm sorry, did you have something else, Mr. Sullivan? Oh.
No, ma'am. Not unless you have a question.
I thought I heard something. Mr. Villarreal, were you wanting to say something?
Well, no, I mean, in the considerations, there are some other dollars that we were requesting to use.
Okay, right. Do I have board members that have questions regarding this?
One question, Madam President, or 2. I'm still getting up to speed. I'm the new one, as y'all well know, but phase 1 and 2 was already done, and that was about $5 million. Is that correct? Ballpark expenditures?
Phase 1 and 2 is approximately $1,955,000, and that is under construction and will be finished for the start of the August 21 school year.
Okay, that part, thank you. I'm trying to catch up with some of that stuff, and I hadn't had a chance to see all the slides.
Okay.
Phase 3B, when will we execute that? Or what's the timeline or the projection on that? Because obviously we're doing 3A tonight.
3B, which would complete and finish out classroom areas 5, 6, 7, and 8, we estimate the cost of that is $1.125 million, and there isn't any funding to support that at this time.
So there's no timeline either, because it's the funding becomes the issue at this point.
It would be either if we got private donations.
Right.
Or would be reserved for a future bond program.
Right.
Okay.
So one of those things, so Mr. Hilliard, that is something that Mr. Villarreal and I've spoken to. So the piece with that is two mechanisms really, or a third that Gary just mentioned. So one is there can be private donors that put some money to it. So we are in constant communication with different entities about that piece, right? So there's that. We can have the opportunity over the next year to actually fund it locally through our local budget. Or then third is to go to a bond issue to do it. Those classrooms aren't as expensive as that competition arena. That competition arena that's a want that doesn't necessarily have to have right now. So what we're focusing on is actually the classrooms and those pieces for the academic program. What this does tonight is allows us the next 2 years. So we'll have 2 years with it. So we don't really have to even consider those other 4 rooms until year 3.
Okay.
But our intent is to try to get those done prior to that, simply so that it just becomes an issue of building, is timing and things like that. We don't want to be in there making a bunch of noise when kids are trying to learn.
Understood, but there's no current plan for 3B in the next fiscal budget at this point. It just becomes a funding mechanism.
Correct.
Thing. Okay.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, I think those are the 2 questions. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Yes, Ms. Huey?
I just want to clarify and make sure that it's understood that we are okay on the hail damage replacement. That's all taken care of, covered. All contingency issues are addressed there.
Yes, ma'am. We have 2 projects that the board approved for construction at the April board meeting on the 12th. Those 2 projects have combined a little over $137,000 in contingency. We have no concerns that we're going to use that contingency up. So this additional contingency that was for the entire program, we're ready to recommend it be decommitted and used for other purposes.
Okay. Well, congratulations on coming in with some extra money there. That's really nice. So, okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else?
I've got a couple of questions real quick. On the sheet, the estimates that you gave us on Exhibit 2 that talk about, it has the Phase 3A, 3B, and then Phase 3 total. That just kind of outlines what the different costs are for the different labs. There was, on Phase 3A, it has a contingency for construction that's roughly 5% of the construction cost. And then 3B, if you look at that, contingency is upwards of 16–18% of just the construction cost. We're not talking about the technology part, but it's also kind of tracking the same percentages. Is that because 3B doesn't necessarily have defined plans at this point, and so you're having to increase that contingency to cover some potential
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
some unknowns
And the
at this
other,
point.
and the other concern is the contractor's price is good for 30 days.
Sure.
And the construction marketplace is very fluid. And so we're trying to put in there a value in the event the board were to approve 3B at some future date, as long as it wasn't half a year from now, that we felt that could cover the project as it's currently envisioned.
Yeah, and so the one for Phase 3A is much tighter simply because
That's correct.
it's a known quantity, you know what you're
Exactly.
putting in.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. And then the only other question I had really was, what is our anticipated capacity through with this all the way through Phase 3A? What's our anticipated capacity for enrollment?
Mr. Peterson, who is the CT
Yeah.
Senior Director,
where
I
does
think
that
can
get
address that.
So by year 2, Ben, it's 360, correct?
120. I'm sorry,
No.
240.
240. Okay, 240.
So this helps us get to that number by the end of,
Correct.
or by the second year, basically? Okay. That's it. Thank
And
you.
the restrooms that we're currently building can handle all 4 years of students.
Got it, okay, and that's a good follow-up point, that we were doing that now so that we could accommodate that capacity later.
Right.
So, okay, thank you.
The bathrooms, where are they? If you see those back restrooms near classroom 10, That's what we have to get in order, because the only other restrooms are the ones in the front.
Right.
And I believe those are,
They could only handle the first year student
right, but
population.
it's like 1 or 2 potties, that's it.
Yeah.
So
sir.
we've got the addition of that restroom, which is being built now.
I'll say that was part
That
of the
was,
very
that was
initial
phase two.
Oh, phase 2.
Correct.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, and that helps us get to where we can hold that quantity of people.
Does that include when there's competitions too? That's enough capacity there too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, once those restrooms are built,
That's all we
it
need,
is to
right?
scale. It's done. Correct. It's done.
There are restrooms, though, when we do go to the full competition arena, which seats like 700 students and families, that's when the other restrooms down by the lobby would be needed. To the left of the lobby, you can see in green, are the public restrooms for the competition space.
Yeah, so there'd be one more set of.
Right next to the lobby in green. But we don't need those restrooms to support the student use of the facility or small competitions that may happen in the cyber classrooms. The restrooms we have are capable of supporting all that are in phase 2.
Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but with this expansion, then we can actually host cyber. Our kids can compete there next year, correct? Through cyber.
Yes, and for every 5 desks that we get, we can handle that many more teams.
Right. So they'll actually remember, especially in this virtual space, it's always been a struggle for us to give them access and things like that through. For a long time, they were using Wi-Fi hotspots, which are not very good for competition. And so Doretta and her team have really redesigned this with that piece in mind. So, again, just a reminder, 3 years ago, the team from Roosevelt won 3rd at Nationals. 2 years ago, they were 1st. This year, they were 2nd. So, again, that's that piece that we're trying to make sure that all of our kids that go into this program have that competitive piece, because we did do some things down at that ETA classroom that allowed that network to function differently. And it's now even more robust here, because it's really a network design. Because the tricky part, and if you guys want to talk about this in detail, we can bring Doretta and them in, but is to always watch about our E-rate dollars, because as you make this system and kids have more access in it, it can impact our E-rate dollars. So that's what we're always juggling, but they have done a masterful job of this. So when our kids are competing, it's really going to be an amazing experience for them. Because I don't know if any of you remember this, but MacArthur used to go to Broadway Bank to compete. That's the only place they could go that had the system to handle it. So we're really looking at now doing it internally, and not just at a room, but at a center where they can all come. And y'all, just as a reminder, this isn't just open Monday through Friday. This is open on weekends too. So kids will be in there competing. Cyber is oftentimes Saturdays and Sundays. So it will be functioning all the time. This will be a busy place.
So I know this would be more of a programming thing that you're probably still trying to figure out. But once the high schools are set, I know middle schools are getting bigger and bigger into this, and more of the schools are getting teams. Is there a chance that we're, for those competitions, going to be able to accommodate all of them, some of them? Is there a way to do that, knowing that those kids are also getting sort of crammed into classrooms, and sometimes the networks are working better than others, but.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We're expanding our computer science programs at our middle schools to go from 3 middle schools this year where we are. We've been there for the past 5 years at about 3 middle schools. Next year we'll have 10 to 12. Wow. Some of them are still looking at the student request to see. So we've got some training for the teachers lined up for this summer. As far as Cyber Patriots concerned at the middle school level, we want to. Dr. Micah's vision is for every single one of our middle school and high school campuses to have that Cyber Patriot competition. I think we're going to have the student interest, and then we're working on a plan right now with Doretta's team and Dr. Micah as to what that might look like as far as what we need for the middle schools to get to that competition level.
I know you start talking about several more teams at that point because there's more schools,
Right.
But I know that interest is really ramping up, and that's where you're getting the kids interested in that.
Correct.
get to the high school level.
That's the thing, Mr. Byer, is that what we know, we have to get these kids very early on. A lot of them don't even know what cyber is. They don't really understand it. And so pushing it down, I mean, I just met with Chris Cook and Joseph Bray, who's the civilian secretary to the Secretary of the Army. That sounds right. Right? Did I say it right? Okay, because his title is very difficult, but we met with him about ICSI and Chris Cook, and, just in San Antonio alone, there are 1,500 unfilled jobs right now in cyber. And these are jobs that are paying starting at like $70,000 a year. It is a huge gap that needs to be filled. And Mr. Bray, what he said is, you guys are years in advanced over anything they've seen. In fact, he was charging me with trying to get other districts on board with things like this. I told him, no thanks.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's it. There is a huge need for this. And again, oftentimes, and Ben and I have talked about this, kids go into fields that they know about, and that's often what their parents know about, and that we need to kind of open this up to show them the potential, because when kids leave this program after their studies, they can enter the workforce immediately, that if they want. They can go to college, or they can do both. They can actually enter the workforce while they're in college and be making a decent living while going to school. And so what's great is your advisory board has really been informing us all along about this, but what they've honed in on and what they've told us is not just the hard skills of cyber, but also how to communicate with each other, things that we've heard before, right? Those pieces that these guys, and when you watch them compete, that's what's amazing, is they have to work as a unit. Like, and I know you know this, Mr. Byer, because your daughter's on it, but they really do. They have to work very tightly on problem solving. So that's what's really interesting about this.
Can I follow up Mr. Byer's question? You made me think of something real quick. Is that okay?
Sure.
Quick question. I noticed we're putting a lot of technology up front, but is this infrastructure going to be good? Because I noticed in 3B there's no technology expenditure. So we're putting the whole infrastructure on the front end to make sure, but we don't need to add anything for 3B and all those classrooms. It's all minimal type stuff. So we're putting the big money up front to make sure it's fully capable day one. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And then for 3B, we will be using some of our CTE funds to pay for those technology costs.
Okay. And the last question, is that arena going to be sunken? Because I thought I heard something, or is it going to be an elevated one?
The arena, as it is originally described, was to be sunken.
It was, that's
To
correct.
lower down, that then the socks overlook it, so you'd actually look up into the socks. But again, that's down the line.
Yeah, just the concern of jackhammering with all that sensitive equipment, but that is years out just to make
Yeah,
sure all that stuff would be, I'm
these
sure,
guys
considered
can
and
do
all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going to be a very seamless
Okay.
process, because the concrete slab that Walmart built doesn't have any structural steel in it.
Okay.
So when we put the bathrooms in, we were able to just cut through it with a concrete saw, remove the concrete, put in the piping,
Oh,
and
good.
put it back.
So no concerns.
It'll be a very simple process to remove whatever concrete we want to take out for the arena.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Anything else? Ms. Williams?
First of all, I apologize for being tardy.
It's okay.
Your boss doesn't know you're on your way to a meeting. But, I'm really, really excited about this. Are we planning for a grand opening or of some sort?
Absolutely.
I mean-
The mayor's invited, Judge Wolf's invited, yeah. They'll all, I don't know that they'll come or not,
They'll come.
but they're coming. Remember, Judge Wolf called me after hearing about it and said, hey, that's amazing that y'all did that.
Yeah.
So I think they will. Yes,
And-
but we will have a big opening like we always do.
And I'd like to make sure that UTSA's NSCC, National Security Collaboration Center, is invited. And of course, Ben deals a lot with CIAS and all of those components. And this is going to make us highly, highly competitive from an economic development perspective in keeping our kids here in San Antonio, because the jobs will be here. So I'm really excited. Thank you all for all your work on this. And let us continue to know how we can help. Thank you.
Ms. Winkley, did you have something?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. I'm going to just read this because I think I might have to say everything that's typed on here. So, do I have a motion to recommend for the district to, one, release from commitment and repurpose the 2016 hail damage roofing program contingency funds, $575,083.17 for use in support of the ICSI project. Number two, expend $50,000 from the superintendent's contingency fund for the ICSI project. Three, issue a construction change order to CGC General Contractors for a total bid cost of $363,270, which includes a contingency of $17,345. Four, authorize the expenditure of $434,992.82 to procure furniture and technology equipment for the ICSI facility. And five, increase the design and permitting fund by $26,737.18 to support construction of the Phase 3A improvements for the Northeast Institute of Cybersecurity and Innovation Facility renovations project. See Exhibit 2 for a detailed cost breakout. It is further recommended that the Board of Trustees grant the Superintendent, Associate Superintendent for Operations, and the Executive Director of Construction Management and Engineering authority to execute this contract.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. The board will now adjourn into oh, wait. Oh.
No, number 2.
Okay.
It's hard to see.
Number 2, possible action regarding professional services contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments supporting the 2015 bond program design and construction requirements for ICSI. Mr. Clary.
Madam President, normally this is something we bring to you on consent, but since tonight is special meeting, we're asking for the request to purchase this item. I think Mr. Peterson can probably explain it a whole lot better than I can, but it's software. Go ahead, Ben. Go ahead and just tell them what it is.
This is the brains behind the program. So Dr. Micah talked a little bit earlier about Doretta Walker really helping us design some hardware and software that allows us to run all this virtualization. That is what this purchase is through Bridgehead IT, which is a small business here in San Antonio. We met them through our contacts at UTSA. They've built the cyber range at UTSA. They have provided UTSA with excellent training for their cyber range, and they're very excited about the opportunity to partner with us in building this here. They have given us some educational discounts, and this is what will allow the students to perhaps upload malware onto the network, and then at the end of the day, the teacher can hit a button and it's gone. It's a completely virtual network, which allows us to teach the students the hands-on experiences that they'll need in cybersecurity.
Any questions?
That's the
Okay.
brief description, so I apologize.
No, that's fine. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the professional services contracts, construction contracts, and related contract amendments in support of the 2015 bond program? See attachment. It is further recommended for the Board of Trustees to grant the superintendent, the associate superintendent for operations, and the executive director of construction management and engineering authority to execute the contracts.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leos. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, now item 3. The board will now adjourn into executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071, private consultation with the board's attorney. 551.074, to discuss personnel or to hear complaints against personnel. and 551.076 regarding security devices. And the time is 5:56.